and Jalen's 33-day recap, the First Birdmester.
Welcome to Bill and Jalen's 33-day recap. This is part 4. If you missed the first 3 parts, check out the Grantland channel. They are all on there. And this is the big one because we have the most valuable player for the first 33 days coming up. It might be a surprise.
I won Player of the Week before.
You did? For the week you scored 43? We'll make you the MVP for the second Birdmester. Well, this is your favorite category. The best keep getting them checks guy. We call him the KGDC guy. Sounds like Kevin Garnett and Derek Coleman a little bit.
Boom.
That's
the originators.
Can you just yell out, keep getting them checks after every time I say somebody's name?
Why not? I love to do that.
Here are nominees. Rashard Lewis.
Keep getting them checks, Rashard.
Antoine Jameson.
Time, 1st and 15th.
Jermaine O'Neal.
J.O. Felony, still getting them in Golden State.
Amari Stoudemire.
Standing tall and talented at the teller.
Richard Jefferson playing like 30 minutes a game.
Wow, you know he was getting DNPs in Golden State. Utah, you doing a good job. Sorry for Jabari.
And then finally, the one and the only Joe Johnson.
Joe Johnson, a lot of people talking about Kobe's deal. Let me just frame something for you guys. The highest 3 paid players in the NBA next year are Amari and Joe Johnson to go with Kobe Bryant. Lakers got a pretty good deal.
Before we announce the winner, I'd like to apologize to somebody who got left off the keep getting them checks list. We forgot about you, Elton Brand. We're sorry. You're making $4 million this year to play 9 minutes a game in Atlanta. Keep getting those checks, Elton. And our winner is Joe Johnson, who's due almost $75 million over this year and the next 2.
And also, they actually need his production for that team. Like, we talk a lot about KG and Paul, and people even talk a lot about Darren Williams and Lopez. Joe Johnson is an all-star shooting guard. They need him to be a high-level player to carry the team, even if those guys are out of the lineup.
Yeah, here's the case against Joe Johnson. You would never hear him say something like, or like a SportsCenter anchor say, the last 5 games since Lopez and Darren Williams have been out, Joe Johnson's averaging 37 a game. Here's what Joe had to say. Well, I knew when Darren and Brooke came out that I had to step up my offense for a few games. We're all trying to win, and we got to get those points from somewhere. Joe Johnson just goes out and gets his 20, whether whoever's out there or not.
The Pelicans lose Davis.
Yep.
Ryan Anderson goes crazy.
Right.
30-point nights back-to-back. That's what we need to see from Joe, whether they have a full lineup or not.
Well, here's a happier category. Best leap by a youngin'.
Nice.
You insisted on this category. I agree with you, actually.
Yes,
we'll
indeed.
zoom through them quick. Anthony Davis just got hurt, but what we saw in the first 5 weeks for him, top 15 franchise player potential stuff. I actually think he would have been the first team All-NBA guy if he didn't get hurt through the 6 weeks.
And let me repeat what he just said because he's exactly right. Anthony Davis is one of the top 15 players in the game. Period.
Absolutely. Klay Thompson stepped it up this year. He's averaging, I think, 21 a game, shooting threes. Seems a lot more comfortable this year.
And also, Mark Jackson did a smart thing in the offseason. He actually made Harrison Barnes and Klay Thompson think one of them was not going to be a starter. And initially,
it never said who.
It was Klay Thompson.
Oh, wow.
Who they were talking about bringing off the bench. Then Harrison Barnes get injured in preseason. Klay outright gets the opportunity. Now Iguodala's out. Harrison Barnes is getting the opportunity. So they're both getting a chance to play quality minutes. He's a lights out shooter. He's one half of the Splash Brothers.
Our guy Andre Drummond, who I think is on the Bill and Jalen All-Stars.
If he's not, we're going to drop somebody and put him on there.
Uh-oh, Kelly Olynyk's in trouble.
Exactly. So here's the thing I want everybody to pay attention to when you watch Andre Drummond play. And I don't know why I'm giving away some of my GM tips, but here's go one. When you watch him play, watch him run. Okay? This guy runs smooth.
This is one of my GM tips.
Smooth.
You stole my GM tip.
We never truly had this conversation.
We didn't? This is how I judge all big guys. I have to see them in person, and I watch how they run back. Remember, were you there when I was saying this to one of our friends about Joel Embiid, how I like the way he ran?
We talked about both liking it.
Yeah.
So when you watch him play, watch Andrew Bynum play.
And watch, or how about Hasheem Thabeet? Watch Hasheem Thabeet run. You're like, oh.
Correct. So that's why in college, even though he was a 20% free throw shooter, at the draft, I'm thinking, they're not taking this guy top 5? Nobody's taking this guy number 7? I was surprised he fell to the Pistons.
The free throw shooting. He should have gone 5th.
Yes.
He should have gone to the Kings at number 5.
Totally.
In retrospect.
He's going to be a franchise center. He's had a game already this year. We had 31 points, 19 rebounds, and 6 steals.
Can I give you another theory? I'm giving you a theory on top of the theory. So we're going double theory right now. I think he's a good example of sometimes getting drafted later and having a little pain at the draft is a good thing. If he goes 4th or 5th, it's like, oh, I made it. All the problems I had in college. No, wait, let me finish my theory, and then you can disagree. I made it. This is great. So even though I shot 30% in college and I went up and down, I still got ruled with a top 5 pick. This is awesome. Instead, he falls to 9th. He gets picked apart that whole draft. Everybody's talking about his flaws. I think that's a good thing sometimes. You disagree?
There are exceptions to every rule, like when the Bulls have the smallest percentage of chance to get the number 1 pick, but then they get it and get Derrick Rose.
Right.
Normally, the first 5 picks are the 5 worst teams.
Yep.
So that's what I mean by getting drafted by the wrong team. He actually got drafted by a team that wasn't as bad.
They weren't abominable.
As the situation
he could have gone to the
by.
Kings. He could have been on the Kings with Boogie.
Correct.
Our buddy.
And
that would have been good. But I also think, when you fell to 13, that drove you. You could name right now all the guys that went ahead of you.
Correct. I like your theory.
Who were the guys that went ahead of you?
Eric Montrose was one because I wanted to play for the Celtics.
Carlos Rogers?
Me and ML Carr joke about this all of the time.
Really?
Yeah.
When he's getting your keys as the valet of the club?
A lot of people don't know I wore that red and white suit because at worst I thought I was getting drafted 7 by the Clippers. They took my boy Lamont Murray.
There was a lot of mistakes made before you. The next one is Lance Stevenson. We covered him before in part 1.
If you've ever seen the Jalen and Jacoby podcast, I have to give a big shout to David Jacoby because he's been telling the world for years that Lance is his favorite player. 2 years ago, I said, Jacoby, let's go check out an NBA game. He said, I want to go when Lance come to town. He wasn't even playing.
I have a better Jacoby story than that. We went to Super Bowl Saturday. We saw the Pacers, and they gave us nice seats. We're courtside. Underneath the basket, the court's this way. The Pacers bench is over here. Lance wasn't playing, and Jacoby was like this the whole time, just watching Lance Stevenson, watching everything he did. He was like, look at him, high five. Look how intense he is.
Exactly.
So Jacoby was the first guy on the bandwagon.
Yes, indeed.
And now Lance Stevenson, is it a good thing that he's going to make a lot of money?
It's always a good thing to make a lot of money.
Is it good for him?
Yes, it's going to be a good thing for him.
Is it good for him to sign a $45 million 4-year contract on another team and leave the Pacers?
He ain't leaving the Pacers.
You don't think he'll leave the Pacers?
I got one name to let you know he ain't leaving. The name of this podcast, Larry.
The Birdmester.
Exactly. He's one of Larry's guys.
Okay, so they'll pay him.
I'm one of Larry's guys.
So Lance doesn't leave. You don't leave Larry. Larry doesn't know me, but I'm also one of his guys. I'm with Larry every step of the way. And last but not least, Ty Lawson, who was a borderline All-Star last year, was on a very good Nuggets team that won something like 57 games. So it's weird to put him on this list. I just love the way he's playing. I don't think that's an especially good Nuggets team. Brian Shaw was kind of all over the map with the style. They were too slow in the beginning. Now they're kind of playing his pace. And I just think Lawson's been great.
The best thing that happened to the Denver Nuggets, Coach Brian Shaw and Ty Lawson, is that JaVale McGee got hurt. They were coming into the season, figured they were going to feature him as a post-up player, play more half-court offense. And every team, and as you mentioned, I was drafted by the Nuggets, that plays in Denver, you have to use the altitude to your advantage.
Right.
I remember being a rookie one time, and I was having a good game against the Houston Rockets. And I got confidence when I looked over at their bench, and I saw Hakeem Olajuwon.
Had the mask on?
Had the mask on. You have to be an up-tempo team to play in Denver, one of the fastest guards in the league, making his open jump shots now. He's really taking that leap.
Our winner is Anthony Davis. I don't care if he got hurt. I thought he was a revelation this year. I loved watching him on League Pass. and he's going to be special. He'll be in the finals at some point in his life.
And I don't mean to turn into a founder of a school, but I like how he handles having the one eyebrow. I like how he embraced it.
Oh, interesting.
Don't allow people to bully him about it.
Yeah.
It's something that he now
had fun
uses
with
to
it.
embolden himself.
Yep.
And he didn't change it. It's almost like Michael Strahan with the space in his tooth. I like when people continue to be
So as I
there.
grow my beard out, you're going to feel the same way?
People ain't gonna try to
I'm
bully
shaving
you.
it. Larry Sanders Award for biggest train wreck. We named this award after Larry Sanders, who signed a big contract.
4
and
years,
then
$44 million.
got in a bar fight, got in trouble with the dog patrol for keeping dogs outside in 17-degree weather. His team's been bad. It's hurt his team that he's not around.
Correct. Check.
So Larry's the biggest individual player train wreck. The biggest team train wreck, you could say the New York Knicks are up there.
They're
Who else do we
definitely up
have?
there.
The Brooklyn Nets. Hey,
They're
it's
playing
weird
the
to see
same city.
Jason Kidd move. The Cleveland Cavaliers, what the heck are they doing? And then all the above. And our winner is all of the above. These are the three biggest disasters we've had. The Knicks at least have a semi-excuse because of Tyson Chandler is the only guy on the team who can play defense. But you watch that team, it's depressing. It's just a lot of standing around. Chemistry looks awful. If you had to pick Brooklyn or New York, who has a better chance of turning it around, who would you pick?
Brooklyn.
I think Brooklyn too.
Because they have the second best player besides Melo, and that's Lopez. And he's a center.
And we haven't really seen their team together.
Yes.
My fear with them was I thought they were going to be a contender. They're too slow. It's hard for them to get easy baskets. Then the injuries happen when you have an older team. I wonder, will we ever see that team on the court playing long enough to kind of get an identity?
Brooklyn's going to play, I think, 9 of their 12 games in December at home. They're going to start to get healthy. They're going to start to
Is
get
it a
a
good
couple
thing
of
for them
wins.
to be at home, though? Because the fans were booing them on Tuesday night's game, right?
Yeah, because you're down 20 points.
Yeah.
Almost every other night.
I'd try to get my spirit back on the road. The Cavaliers, I think, are beyond help. Another one of my dumb theories is having too many guys, not enough minutes.
But
they said too many guys.
But I'm glad you brought that up. And this is where I'm going to defend the Cavs.
Okay.
They've actually put themselves in a position to have some movable parts. Now, if they're able to parlay those parts into something, remains to be seen. Anderson Varejão's still a productive big.
I'm going to disagree with your disagree. I think he's really hurt them this year. I don't think he's been good. I think
He giving them 8 and 8.
I know, but remember he used to be
14 and 14.
He used to be like a Noah type
He was Noah.
guy, and he looks to me a step slow. Like he's going to be a free agent. That's not somebody I'd want to sign. I'm a huge Varejão fan. I don't think he's been good this year.
But when you think about a big body that could get you 8 and 8, there are a lot of spots that he could be
Right.
a valuable commodity for.
On the Clippers, if the Clippers were able to get him and get his engine going again, that's where we're talking about.
Yep, Tristan Thompson. I mean, he's a good young player, playing power forward, can score around the basket. I think he has some value around the league, and I think Deion Waiters still. I know
They're not traded Tristan Thompson. You know why?
because he has LeBron's agent.
See, I'm learning.
Big shout, Rich.
But I'm learning. I'm learning the little game when you know stuff. I'm trying to figure out your secrets. And one of the things that you love is who has whose agent.
Correct.
And it's like, all right, well, who else does LeBron's agent represent? Oh, he represents Tristan Thompson. That tells me Tristan Thompson has more leverage than maybe Tristan Thompson should have.
And
Because
also-
you don't want to make Rich Paul mad if you're the Cavs.
And you got Deion Waiters, who I know that people are talking about move him. Whoa, that's a good young player. Now, I know he may not be working out in this dynamic, but you put him in the right situation, I think he could take the young elite.
I hope he bounces to Boston.
See?
He's only like 21, too, isn't he? I think he's 21.
He's built like Dwayne Wade.
I've been there in person when he gets hot. He has talent.
Yeah, he's a good player.
He's on the wrong team. Drafted by the wrong team. All right, we got 2 more. Best fake trade that won't happen but should. As you know, we should have had my little beret and my little easel, because I could have the Picasso, the trade machine.
When we run an NBA team, will we still be able to do our podcast?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we're gonna do it for the fans.
Yes, indeed.
It'll be for season ticket holders only.
Very nice.
Best fake trade that won't happen but should. Blake Griffin for Kevin Love, straight up.
Okay,
Why doesn't this work?
Okay, here's my theory. I love Blake Griffin. I love any young player that can get me 20 and 10 in their first year. Mm-hmm. I love Kevin Love, obviously. He's also a 2010 player. He's a 2015
That's
player.
my impression of Kevin Love's outlet pass.
Very nice. What is the strengths and weaknesses of the Los Angeles Clippers team? They have the third best, fourth best player in the league in Chris Paul. The strength of his game, I'm not talking about the first 45 minutes. I'm talking about the last 3 minutes.
Getting into the paint, making plays.
Off a pick and roll.
Off a pick and roll.
Right? DeAndre, as a young center,
Lane clogger.
he's going to be on the baseline.
Yep.
Or he's going to be rolling to the basket.
Bringing his guy just close enough to the rim to jump out and bother Chris Paul.
Correct. So that dynamic in the spacing allows other teams to help. Look back at some of the film of when they got eliminated by, last year was the Spurs.
Yep.
The reason why the Spurs were able to sweep the Clippers is because they did a very good job of zoning up on the pick and roll play.
Well, Kevin Love, the great thing about him is he can be outside the three-point line. He can help you with the rebounding in the other end. I actually like the fit with him and DeAndre. I think him and Chris will be great. His contract's up in a year and a half. Blake is locked in for the next 4 years. So if you're Minnesota, now you don't have to worry about Kevin Love leaving. Blake would be sad about leaving LA, but I think he'd be fine. He's from the Midwest anyway.
And also, to your point, you get him under contract.
You got 4 years of him.
Right.
Anyway, Omer Ashik for Ryan Anderson. This trade's been around for so long, we talked about it in the preview.
But hold up, I got to say something in the Pelicans' defense.
I wouldn't do it.
I don't do that deal.
I want #1 picks with Ashik.
See, Ashik saying he don't want to play, and Anderson actually getting out there playing.
Yep.
Kills the dynamic of him reuniting with Dwight Howard.
I wouldn't do it. Ashik's trade value got cut 50% by quitting.
If the Pelicans,
everyone in the league noticed that.
Right. Pelicans wouldn't make a move that bad since the league on the team?
Well, since the Tyreek Evans signing. Rajon Rondo for Isaiah Thomas, John Salmons, and Sacramento's top 3 protected pick in 2014. Who says no, Jalen?
I love Rajon Rondo. I'm not giving up 3 potential #1 picks.
Okay, I just had to put a Celtics trade in there.
Yes,
Excited.
Not going to be able to do it.
All right, and then James Harden for Jeremy Lamb, Steven Adams, Kendrick Perkins, and #1 pick. Who says
so
no?
Hard to say goodbye. You want him to go back, huh? That bridge is burned.
Yeah.
It's better. You have a better chance of Kevin Durant going to Houston than Harden going back to OKC.
Yeah. And our winner is Blake Griffin for Kevin Love.
But
I love this trade.
Bill, this is what I truly do. If I was the Clippers, I would say this dynamic with Blake and DeAndre has been great, but I want to go championship level, and I need a little more spacing on the court. That's it. I'm not doing it for any other reason but the geometry of the court. LaMarcus Aldridge, Al Horford, or Kevin Love will be in play. I will be willing to move Blake for one of those 3 guys.
LaMarcus isn't going anywhere. LaMarcus isn't going anywhere.
I know.
Portland's a contender. Al Horford, maybe. Not inconceivable. I don't know if I would do that if I was Atlanta. I like Blake the least out of those 4 guys as an NBA. Wouldn't you say? If you had to rank those, how would you rank them?
In theory,
Kevin Love would be first, but the problem for Minnesota is he's got 18 months left on his deal and he's out.
they have different styles. Aldridge reminds me of a modern-day Rasheed Wallace.
Isn't Aldridge a center, or am I crazy?
He's tall enough to be a center, but he has power forward skills.
Right.
Like Rasheed. Plays with his back to the basket, shoots facing. Kevin Love is one of the top players in the whole league to me. Like, I think he's top 7.
The problem, I'd have him top 10, but the problem in Minnesota is I don't think Love and Pekovic can play together. I think defensively, they don't protect the rim.
How about Blake and Pekovic?
Well, you'd have the same problem, but at least you'd be more exciting.
Right.
Actually, you're still excited with Kevin Love. Really, Minnesota's only doing that trade because they're worried he's going to leave.
Correct.
Yeah. I'd rather have Kevin Love. And if you're the Clippers and you could bring Kevin Love back to Los Angeles, you do that in 1 second.
But the dynamic of the Clippers is you don't get Chris Paul if you don't have Blake. And the ownership of the Clippers loves Blake for what he was able to do in turning around their fortress.
Created Lob City. Fans love Blake.
So they're not going to move him.
Never. We just wasted 5 minutes of your time.
But that's why it's a fake trade.
Yeah. Last award, the most valuable player of the First Birdmester. And here are the nominees.
Down with the king, LeBron James.
4 in 5 years, heading for his 5th. He's one nominee. Who's next? Kevin Durant. Having a really good year once again.
Yes, indeed. Iceberg Slim, shooting trades from the suburbs.
Rated R, Paul George.
Yes, indeed.
You like that nickname? Rated R Superstar?
Nah, I got to come up with a nickname. He's the modern day Scottie Pippen. He's the remix.
We're going to talk about that in a second. Last but not least, Chris Paul.
CP3.
I think Paul George is Tracy McGrady. I think he's a better defensive player than Tracy McGrady was, but his game and the ease that he's getting his points now, Pippen couldn't do that. Pippen couldn't have moments like Paul George had in that Portland game where he's making 5 threes in the fourth quarter with a hand in his face off balance. Pippen couldn't do that.
I agree.
That was Tracy McGrady, what he did in that Portland game.
The reason why I compare him to Pippen, and I say the remix because it's a graduation.
I like yours too. Can we say Pippen T-Mac Cross?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
He's, other than LeBron, the best two-way player in the league. Durant got his team to a finals, so he has the upper hand. But that is now a conversation. With what we've seen from Paul George this year and the fact that he went from 2 years ago he was here, last year he was here, now he's up here. He's in the stratosphere. He's one of the best 3 players in the league now.
Last, probably January, I saw a media member with a Paul George jersey. And I'm like, I want that. He's like, you do? I'm like, yeah, he about to be a superstar. And the dude was like, you think he about to really take it there? I'm like, yeah. And I stole the jersey.
Well,
I still have it.
We throw the word superstar around too liberally sometimes. Last year in the playoffs, people were calling him a superstar. He wasn't quite a superstar yet because what we've seen from him this year is what a superstar does. A superstar, the night after you beat the Clippers, or you beat the Clippers on a Sunday, you go to Portland on Monday. Portland's playing great. They're home. Fans are in it. They're ready to blow Indiana out. And Paul George just didn't want it to happen. He was like, I don't want to lose. I'm going to do everything I can to win this game. I loved it.
Me too. And also, we talked about the ease and the fluidity he has with his game and how he leaps and how he shoots and his release. Normally, a guy his height, he's around 6'8", probably has like a 15, 16 shoe. I noticed that he has pretty small feet for his height. So he's faster on his feet, and that's one of the reasons. There's a difference in 2 feet when you were at 13 versus when you were at 15.
Right.
You're able to pick them dogs up.
Yeah.
And he has the ability to do that. And you see him fighting over screens, getting in the stance. He's a game changer.
I think Durant still has the upper hand because I think if you switch them and Durant was on this Pacers team, they would win the title. So Paul George has work left to do. But listen, you're in the conversation, Paul George. It's tremendous. This is great that we're talking about this.
Overnight.
Kevin Durant is still number 2, but now it's at least it's not a hold on number 2 anymore.
This is all I want to know. Who drafted Roy Hibbert, Paul George, Danny Granger, hired Frank Vogel, Lance Stevenson?
The guy we named this whole thing after?
The legend.
Our MVP is LeBron James, and here's why.
All of that, and we said LeBron.
Well, listen, what's going to happen as this year goes along, and this happens a lot, is people get fired up and they try to come up with other reasons somebody else should be the MVP. And
the grass is always greener.
We're tired of voting for this guy, blah, blah, blah. And so Durant, Oklahoma City could win 15 in a row. Durant will get some. Paul George, if Indiana wins 70 games, he'll get some love for that. Maybe Roy Hibbert will even get in the discussion, which I wouldn't be against because he's a dominant defensive player. LeBron James is the MVP. He's the best player in the league. I would compare what he's doing this year to almost like watching Tom Brady the last 2 Patriots Super Bowl seasons. Game manager. He just goes into every game. He's like, I'm going to get to my 25, 7, and 7. I'm going to take as few shots as possible. I'm going to get everybody involved. Beasley comes in. I'm going to get Beasley going. Dwayne Wade, I'm going to make sure he gets his early. I want to get Chris some shots over here. I got to get my point guards involved. And if they need me in the last 3 minutes, I'll take over. But I'm going to be involved in every fabric of this game. And it almost seems like part of the fun for him this year is to see how well he can play without shooting. Have you noticed that?
Absolutely.
It seems like he really goes into games thinking, I only want to shoot 12 times tonight.
I remember when LeBron James made the decision and he decided to go with Miami. And there were a lot of people, pundits, fans, whoever, oh, he gave up the opportunity to be Batman. He'll never be Michael Jordan. He's just settling to go to Wade's team to be Robin. And I remember being one of the only people within the earshot saying this. He's the best player. And they're friends. That's going to be his team. And he's gone there.
It took Wade a year to realize it, though.
Right?
Yeah.
And what makes the best player? Showing up in practice, being the best player.
Most competitive.
Winning in the drills.
Yeah.
Doing all of the interviews, being on the marquee.
Playing the most minutes.
And then coming to the game, playing 82 games and playing all the minutes.
Showing up for every quarter.
And getting 37 and 7.
Yeah.
So that guy is the best player.
Yeah.
And for LeBron James, the beauty in his greatness is we talk about who's the greatest scorer in the league all of the time. And he never gets mentioned. Like he said, if he really wanted to go average 40 and take more shots, he could do that. An economic 60% shooting almost on a nightly basis.
60% is crazy and just I'm confused by that number.
A perimeter player.
It's impossible.
Right.
I had Zach Lowe on a podcast the other day. Zach said it best. Like, when LeBron shoots threes now, I expect them to go in, which wasn't the case with him before. You almost kind of wanted him to shoot the three before. Now it seems like it's going in. But I think him and Paul George are the best two-way players in the league.
They are.
And I don't even know who number 3 is, but it's not close. Number 3 is not close to those two guys.
Yes.
Well, the cool thing about this LeBron season, so he's had it for his 5th MVP in 6 years. Now, if this were a movie, you would create Paul George and the Pacers as the team he has to get through for this third thing. Not only this juggernaut of a team, they're playing the heartland of basketball. They're going to win 70 games.
49 states is basketball.
You have the
That's
rim,
Indiana.
the rim protector at the front, Hibbert, which is been LeBron's kryptonite his entire career, and on top of it, a 6'8", awesome two-way player that he has to guard on both ends, and who can guard him as well as anybody. Perfect.
The best thing about the Indiana Pacers team is something that'll never show up on the stat sheet, is that each guy can guard his position. I don't care if you're playing rec ball. When teams are cross-matched and you got to hide certain guys, that a lot of times throws out your help defense dynamic. All of those guys can play their position. George Hill can play any ones defensively. Same with Lance, Paul. Same with Wes, and obviously Hibbert. That is the number one reason to me why they're a quality team, because they defend.
It's like what Steve Kerr said on my podcast 2 weeks ago when he's looking at who can win the finals. His number one question is, can they get consecutive stops in a row in a big moment? And there's not a lot of teams right now who you could say that. You could say Indiana, Miami, maybe San Antonio. And that's really it. All these other teams are weak. Golden State, Portland's middle of the road defensively. Clippers are below average defensively. On down the line, there's only a couple teams that can play defense, and we know that's what win titles.
A player, we never even talk about a player like David West. He's still getting them around 15 points. He's still going to get you tough rebounds in traffic. And sometimes stats can be skewed. Like, for the fan, you guys might look at the box score and you say, such and such had 12 rebounds. Well, if a guy gets a long free throw rebound and it's uncontested, people that are in the league evaluate, and you metrics Dynamo, they look at certain things that happen in the cusp of a game. And David West gives you them tough buckets, gets them tough rebounds.
Well, he's money at the end of games. They have metrics for that.
Exactly.
He's good at the end of games.
Exactly.
And here's what else it gives you. What happens if I'm Tony Allen and Paul George is going for a layup and I hit him from behind and knock him into a basket support?
You're looking around
what happens
for West.
next?
You know what's happening next.
You're going, you just did, oh shit.
Hibbert, Lance. George Hill is tough too.
Yeah. That's what that team has more than anything.
Exactly.
That team is like old school bad boy Pistons, and it's going to be a great season. I am excited for it. We are done with the First Birdmester. the Bill and Jalen 33-day recap.
And if you don't like Larry, we don't like you.
We will be doing this again in 33 days, give or take a day or two. Thank you for joining us. Sorry this went so long. We get excited sometimes. We hadn't done a basketball show in a while. Check out part 1 and all the other parts that we probably cut this into on the Grantland channel. Enjoy the holidays. We will see you soon.